Hey guys, and welcome. Today I'm very excited because today I get to do an unboxing and review of the Sentinel Riobot Tekkeman Blade action figure. Now I ordered this figure about a couple months ago, if not I believe maybe it was last year, and it's a PX exclusive and I ordered it through my comic shop. And it was delayed for about 2 months. It was originally supposed to come out in July, but it ended up coming out 2 months after. So what's really great though is that the reason I'm very excited about this particular figure is because this particular figure is based on an anime called Tekkeman Blade, and this particular anime came out in the 1993, I believe, and it came out on UPN. And I remember as a child watching that show and thinking to myself, this is a great anime, this is such an amazing thing to watch. And it was like probably my first real Japanese anime that I saw that really inspired me to look more into like other different cartoons that are available. And unfortunately, I was not able to see the entire complete series of this whole show, but thankfully years later, eBay came along, and I was able to find the complete series and watch the show. And now, after so many years have passed, I'm finally getting an action figure to add to my collection. Now there are other particular model kits and figures that came out, and they weren't that great, but this one apparently is going to be better than that, I hope. So let's just look at the box real quick. As you can see, here's the design of the actual figure, designed in the same way that the illustrations or anime was designed for the figure. And then we have here the Tekkeman Blade actual credits or titles in its Japanese form. And there's a little hologram up here. I can't really tell what it shows, but it looks like a little seahorse on there. On the side, you can see that the actual design continues on. It's got a very nice glossness right here of the actual Tekkeman Blade. I'm not sure if that's coming through. There it is. In the bottom, it's a lot of the Japanese writing and information about it. And it says right here, info@unioncreative.jp. And the same on the side, we have the same thing with the nice Tekkeman Blade glossness there, which continues throughout the entire box. And in the back, you can see it has the figure in its different forms of what it looks like in the back. So it's really cool. As you can see, it has like other abilities to open up its shoulder cannons and all that stuff. And on top, it just says the same, Riobot Tekkeman Blade. So let's take a look at this figure and see how it looks. So I'm very excited because this is a figure that I've been waiting for a very long time. So let's see how it looks. Opening it up. There is some damage to the box, but it's fine. As long as it's complete and okay, it should be good. Looks like, let's see, there's something back here. And it looks like it's stuck to the back of the box, so I'm going to have to just pull this out. Well. You can see that it's really stuck in there. There we go. Yeah, it was taped to the bottom. So here we have the figure, and over here looks to be a stand. So let me actually look at all of this, and then we'll see how it comes out right now. One of the most important things to do is always read the instructions, even if it is in Japanese. But because of the illustrations, they're very self-explanatory, because the actual head comes with these small little antennas separated. So as you can see, I was able to put them together. Let me see if I can get a better look. And it was kind of hard to get them on, and some of them still popping off. But it's one of those things that, see, it comes apart. But you have to just be able to just stick it in there, and hopefully it holds really nicely. Now, having this figure out of the box and in hand, I gotta tell you, it looks amazing. I'm amazed at how well this is sculpted and done to represent the actual anime, and the look of it is just good. I mean, it feels good in the hand. It feels like a lot of this articulation in it was well thought through. But if you look at it, it's just the colors are just great. Even the gold, or it's not the gold, but more of the nice mustard yellow or orange that it is just works really well for this figure. It just stands out with the red on it. And of course you have the nice colorful greens that are also involved in here. But let's take a look at it real close. So right here you can see that they sculpted really nicely these antennas, which are super long, which came, like I said, came out of the packaging. So these things are super long and super thin, so you might want to be careful when you want to install these things, because you don't want to actually accidentally snap it. It does have a bit of a bend on it, but just don't try to do that. And as we go here, we have the nice chest armor in front of him. We have these nice shoulder pads, and it also has the nice cannons that you can open up here, which allow him to do his techno power out of him, which is really nice. It's unfortunate that the hinges can be seen right here, but of course, what can you do? That's how they had to, I believe, engineer it to make it look more accurate to what the film looked like. But it looks really nice right there. The way the shoulders just look pretty big on him is just exactly the way it looked like in the anime. The nice armor right here looks really nice. And what's really interesting is that it has a nice shine to it. So it's a nice glossy plastic on it. So it wasn't made, and it's not rough whatsoever. So a lot of this is just shiny plastic. The only parts of him that are actually matted are the inner parts of him, which are the blacks area. His hands is matted, and right here underneath his chest and the abdomen, it's more of a gunmetal gray. It's kind of hard to see, but it's a very nice gunmetal gray. Look at the back. You can see where his propulsion looks like. It looks really cool. Gray added here. Here's another gunmetal gray and some black in the back. It's pretty cool. I just like the way this armor looks. The way it just looks like designed is just really cool. We have the back of him, the back of his legs, the side of him right here. And it's hard to tell. Let's see if I can see it in the camera right here. There is silver added to this area right here, which is really reflective. It's hard to tell, but that silver does stand out, and it pops out next to the white. You have the knees here that are red, and you have, of course, the feet, which I think are like one of my favorite design of it is just the way the feet look. I mean, the way they were done in the anime was just, of course, the way they did it, but it looks really nice here in toy form. I mean, I'm just impressed with this overall in terms of how it looks. Now let's take a look at some of the accessories that Tekkeman Blade comes with. And one of the ones that he does come with, is essential for what he needs, is a pair of gripping hands. And these gripping hands are really nicely sculpted. I mean, the detail on them are just amazing. I mean, it just looks so well done for the scale that they did for this figure. And I mean, you can also see it in these open displayed hands, how detailed they are. Let me see if I can. These are the more like reaching out, or if not trying to grab someone, but the detail is really well done. There's so many like little sculpted parts in his fingers to show you how his hands work. Another thing that he does come with is this piece that I can't tell what it's called, but it is connected to this little wire with this little thing at the end, and it's supposed to connect in here, but I've been having difficulty holding it in or putting it inside. But it's basically like that, and it's supposed to go onto his arm, and it's supposed to like sort of be the thing that reaches out to grab things or stuff like that. But I mean, that's just like I said, it's like a piece that I'm not usually familiar with. But the most important thing is you have his staff, which is a well-known staff that actually comes out of his shoulder cannons of some sort, or these energy pieces that just form together. But they come as a full staff in the box, but it also has the ability to come apart just like it does in the show. And then you insert these little other parts in, and now you can have what I like to call two swords of some sort, where he can fight two-handed swords against his enemies, against other Tekkeman, like Saber or Lance, or anybody else like Darkon that fights him. And he also comes with a stand, which is actually a really nice looking stand. It's very different from a lot of other ones I've seen before, but I think it will look nice with this action figure. And to interchange the arm, it's very simple. All you gotta do is make sure you hold the forearm really tightly, pull it out, and you see it's a ball joint. And I'm gonna put here the gripping arm. You're gonna push that in, and you're gonna push it in with a little bit of force. Just be careful. And there you go. And now it has a gripping hand. Now to use this accessory, one thing you want to do is that it comes connected. This little piece here comes connected inside, and you want to actually yank this out slowly, not too hard. And once that disconnects, that's fine. You're gonna get this piece, and you're gonna go on to, let's say, the hand right here, and you're gonna connect the little tab into that little hole. And once that actually tabs in right, hopefully without any problems, and once you have it on, it holds on pretty good right there. And because it also is interchangeable, you could also put it on the right hand, wherever it is you want to display this with. And once you actually have the thing tabbed in, you can easily put the wire that's connect and with this little hook in the end, and it looks pretty darn good. I mean, it takes a while to get used to using this, but like I said, it's a very nice look for it. And when you're not going to be using this, there is a storage placement that you can put right behind them, and you see where there's this little gray tab right behind them, and this you take that off, and once you put back the little piece that you originally took off to put it on his arm, as you can see there, you can easily slot it into the little tab right there, and you can lift that up, and now you have it seem like it's behind him, part of his costume, which is really actually interesting. I never remember seeing that in the show, but I think what they did here was just there it goes. I think what they did here was just a genius idea, just to keep some of his accessories with him. And getting him to hold the staff that he uses is very simple. You basically have to take apart this piece, and then you have to insert it into the gripping hand, and you got to be careful slightly because these hands are a little bit hard plastic, and once it goes in and you just tab the other side, you have him holding his lance, which is really actually, I think, one of the nicest features that he has. And here he is holding his staff into swords with his two hands, which is actually a really good look for him. Alright, so let's take a look at the articulation on this guy. And he does have a lot, and there's a very surprising amount of things that they did that allow him to be movable. So one of the things we want to look at first is his head movement is on a ball joint, and it moves around freely. But you do want to be careful because, like I said, these antennas that are next to his head do not come together with it, and if you move it slightly too much to an area, it might pop them off, or if not, possibly break them. Now when we go over to the shoulder, he does have a bald shoulder, but it also has like an arm pin joint, which allows him to move it around slightly. He does have this that opens up, so you know that already. The shoulder pad does move up and down, so you can adjust it to where you need to. His hand can move up to that far. He does have a bicep swivel. Let me just grab into that. It's a little difficult, but he does have a bicep swivel in there, which allows him to move the arm. He's double jointed, but you have to be careful too, because you have to be able to find the right area for it to bend to get that full double jointedness. You can move otherwise the armor on his forearm will get in the way. And his hand has his also ball joint, but it also has an extended ball joint. So if you look at it slightly close, it's all the way in, but then you can pull it out slightly, and then it gives you a lot more of a range around there, which is actually a really nice innovation that they did. Now when we come towards the torso area and the body, he does move forward a bit, and he can move back another bit. It's not a lot, but you can see it. He does swivel on the waist a bit. One of the things I do want to mention that's really cool is that right here are these little fins, or I like to call them like these little boosters that he has in the show, which allow him to shoot by fast. And they also have articulation, which is actually nice. so you can kind of get them in a certain area if you wanted to. When you come to the hip area, you can move it a bit forward. You can move it back. There's no restriction there at all. You can pull it down a bit, like it has a drop down method in case you wanted to get a little bit more of a different type of movement there. It does, and you want to do that too when you want to actually spread out the legs, which spreads out pretty nicely. It does have an upper thigh swivel. Its knees are double jointed, however, and it can actually kick itself with the back of the shoes right here, or the feet. And then you have what I like to call the most interesting thing about this, is that in the instructions it shows that it has the ability to actually have a better grade amount of ankle pivots due to the fact that the design has these pieces on the side of his legs or his feet. You would think it'd be very difficult to actually get ankle pivot, which is true. It's kind of hard to get any kind of ankle pivot. However, the instructions do show that you can actually grab this piece, pull it downward. As you can see, it pops, and now you have a lot more range for an ankle pivot. So you can move it around and get a lot more. So you can get it forward, you can get it back, and like I said, you can get the ankle pivot. It's a ball joint, but it's really interesting innovation that they did there. And if you wanted to place it back up, you just push it back in, and that way you keep the scope to look nice in the same way. And it does have toe joints, which is really interesting. So all in all, if you were to try to get him in a long type of stance, pulling these things out, you can actually get him to stand a certain way, ready to fire his cannons if he needs to. So that, I think, is really well done. Now, if there's one thing about this figure that kind of disappoints me, is the fact that because it is a 1/12 scale figure, the actual scale size of this, or at least the height of it, is about 6¼ inches. And in terms of 1/12 scale size, looking and researching the actual height of what Tekkeman's supposed to be and rewatching the anime, he's actually supposed to stand at 2.32 meters, or if not, 7.6 feet. So he should actually be about 7½ inches in this and 1/12 scale. And human beings are supposed to be what his height is right here, but it's very unfortunate that that's what they ended up doing. But it doesn't really detract of how it looks. I just wish it was a little bit bigger, that's all. And now let's just move on to some little size comparisons so you can see what I talk about when I mean his height is a little bit off from what I think he's supposed to be. Now, the first one I want to put here is the Dyson Genos action figure from One Punch Man, which I have to say is a really good figure. And I wanted to put him there because he's also is sort of like a cybernetic character that isn't completely human. And here we have the Bandai Street Fighter Ryu. And he looks actually in good height with him. And if you actually know, Tekkeman Blade did come out in a video game in Japan called Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, and he actually does fight against Ryu. So this is actually somewhat the same scale in the game that they have, so I feel that's great. The only thing I see is that his head seems to be super small compared to these two characters. And the other thing I wanted to show you is what I think his height should have been compared to every other figure that I've showed you right now. And that is the 7-inch scale figure. And here we have, unfortunately I can't fit him completely in the camera, but here we have the McFarlane's DC Multiverse Armored Batman. And this is another character that also has like an armored up suit. And as you can see, I feel like if this figure was around the same height as this Superman figure, and I can't even get him to stand up, he's super heavy, but I'll just have to hold him. But if this figure was around this height and then this scale, I think it would be perfect. It would fit perfectly for all the figures, because that's the way he was actually, in terms of this character, should have been that tall, and in the anime it shows him to be that tall. but unfortunately that didn't happen. But it nonetheless, it's still great in terms of how it looks, how it feels, and how it moves. There you have it, guys. Here is my review of the Sentinel Riobot Tekkeman Blade action figure 1/12 scale. Now, I gotta tell you, I wish this figure was a little bit bigger, because that way it would fit perfectly for all my other figures that I have. But unfortunately, that's not the case. Nonetheless, it doesn't mean that this figure is not a really good figure to have in your collection. In fact, the build quality, the paint apps, everything about it, the articulation, the accessories, it's all worth it. I mean, the price of it is very high, but to get a figure like this it's not gonna come around that much anyways. So if you are interested in purchasing this, I purchased this through my comic shop to help them, support them. But if you are interested in still purchasing some of this, contact your local comic shop. It is a PX exclusive, or if not, you can always check Big Bag Toy Store, and they should have it on pre-order still there. So anyways, thanks a lot, guys, for joining me. I hope this was informational. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and I will talk to you guys later. Be safe, and yeah, take care.